want me to find out?
I don't think it matters.
Okay. It was Halloween, which is late enough.
Hey YouTube, petey Twofinger here. Happy Halloween. This is my Halloween offering for you. Scary story. Ooh, we've got a scary story tonight. Going back, gee, has it been 20 years? It was either 2001 or 2000. My wife and I had purchased tickets to see King Crimson perform at the
Park West?
Park West, yeah. So the Park West is a venue in Chicago. It's on the north side. It's an uppity venue. There really isn't a bad seat in the Park West, and we had great seats. Now, I am an incredible Adrian Belew fan. I discovered Belew's solo music in '88, and it really kind of changed the way I looked at music because before that, all I listened to was Pink Floyd. I love Pink Floyd music, and I kind of wore that out, you know. Pink Floyd has this underlying message of hopelessness to it. And with Adrian Belew's music, it was kind of just the opposite. There was, I mean, he has some songs, and especially as time has went on, Belew has written more and more songs where he's kind of shaking his fist at the injustices, the stupidity of mankind. Ultimately, going back to this time when I fell in love with Belew's music, what I really loved about him was the way that he wrote, how the energy of the lyrics. I loved his voice, his production, and then of course his guitar skills. Now, they got back together with King Crimson, like, you know, basically I discovered Belew and then that led me to King Crimson, the 80s version of King Crimson, which is really something unique, but that stands different. It's Adrian Belew in the act of being a frontman for this band, where he's not really driving the boat. He's kind of steering it. He does write lyrics for those songs, but mostly it's Robert Fripp. And Robert Fripp is incredible. He really is. He's a strange cat, Robert Fripp. If you don't know, he sits, and if you take photos of him, he'll get up and leave. The concert's over. He sits in front of a huge rack full of rack mount gear, and he's surrounded by like expression pedals and volume pedals. And he plays a MIDI guitar, meaning it's connected to a synthesizer, so he can play guitar and synthesizer and combine those. And he also has what's called a Sustainiac, which is a infinite sustain system, which I have. I have all of that. I have a guitar synth, and I have a guitar that has a sustainer. I never combined the two, but trust me, they're really fun. So, me going into this King Crimson thing, well, to be historically accurate, they had gotten back together and released some new King Crimson albums, which was melancholy for me because while I really enjoyed the new King Crimson, and it was very much different, it had evolved. Like the stuff they did in the 80s was one thing, and then when they came out in the late 90s and the early Y2K, it was another thing. And it was heavy. This band, they had Tony Levin playing a bass, and then they had oh gee, I'm not going to be able to remember his name, on stick. With a stick is a 10-stringed instrument. It's got 5 guitar strings going this way and 5 bass strings going that way, and it's like a plank, and you touch it. Marcus, no, it's not Marcus. Trey Gunn is the name of the stick player. So you have 2 bass players, and then you have Robert Fripp with this massive rack of gear with delays and pitch shifters, and Belew with the same thing: Sustainiac guitar, MIDI guitar, you know. So basically, what I'm saying is kind of everybody in this band can almost kind of play and make it sound like two people playing with these delays and pitch shifters or whatever they're doing, the synth and the guitar. You have the one bass players doing this touch guitar, and then they had, I forget if it was two drummers. The one drummer, Pat Mostellato, had an electric aspect to his drum kit, where it wasn't just an acoustic kit. He had electric trigger pads in there too, and he's triggering sound effects and loops. And I think maybe Bill Bruford was the other drummer. I think there was two drummers on this tour. It was Bill Bruford, who is God among drummers. So basically, seeing this level of musicianship where everyone kind of sounds like two people playing at once, seeing it live was unbelievable. It was just like, take all your gear, your guitars, everything, throw it in the dumpster when you got home. It was that humiliating. It was like one of these shows, and I've only been to a few of those things where you left like humbled. Like, they were just so unbelievably good. And like I've seen Baloo's, I've never missed a tour that Baloo's done. And I've seen him on a lot of the side stuff too. You know, we kind of stalked him and the Bears, the Psychodots, the Raisin Band from Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm really familiar with this stuff. And like I said, I love Adrian Belew music. I almost kind of would rather have him just do solo stuff, because when he works with King Crimson, it's a couple of years where there's no solo album and he doesn't tour. And then he's off touring with Crimson, going all around the world. So I was never really like super excited about King Crimson, but I knew like it's going to be great. Like, they have some of those songs like Walking on Air, Sex, Sleep, Eat, Drink, Dream off of that Thrack album are incredible. They're so perfect. And so we saw that tour, and the day came, it was Halloween. Like I said, I had this feeling of like despair because I'm a musician, or I pretend that I can do this, and they were just on like a whole nother pedestal. Like, I don't even want to say level. They were way above anything. And I've seen Yngwie Malmsteen, I've seen Ritchie Blackmore, Deep Purple, I've seen Pink Floyd, David Gilmour, I've seen Roger Waters. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of really high caliber musicians performing, and this was just like nothing else. You can get the DVD. The DVD is called Eyes Wide Shut. Check that out. It's definitely worth it. Now, at some point during the night, I had really been focusing on Adrian, and I had pre-thought this out, that like, don't sit there and watch Belew the whole night. Make sure you check out Trey Gunn playing the stick. Make sure you check out Tony Levin and Fripp. You want to pay attention, because there's stuff you can harvest and steal these techniques and implement them into my playing style. So at some point, it's like the show's like 2/3 over, and I'm thinking, oh, I gotta watch Robert Fripp and steal his techniques. So I look over there, and he looks right back at me. We have really good seats, by the way. So Fripp is sitting down, he's got his glasses on, and he's looking right into my eyes. And he's playing this da 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 da. It's just like repeating ascending scale that he's playing. I don't know what it is. Either it was an improv or it was a song I had never heard. So I'm staring at Robert Fripp, and I can't really tell, is he still looking at me? And I'm thinking, the whole time I'm thinking like, I've got to steal what he's doing. And I'm like, yes, I can very well rip that upscale, that ascending scale, I can steal that. And he keeps doing it. And I'm like, finally, I think like, okay, he's done this ascending scale like 4 or 5 times. The rest of the band, they're playing in 2 time signatures. 3 of the members of the band are in 1 time signature. The other 4 members are in another time signature, and eventually they overlap. Okay, so this is just like, and I'm thinking, how is Fripp gonna get out of this? What in the world would you ever be able to play to get out of that stupid ascending upscale? And he like purses his lips and blinks at me, and I hear in my head, like I've got headphones on, I hear this flurry of notes. Okay? And about a second after they ended, he looks up at me, does this thing with his eyes, and plays those same notes. So I had this feeling that my heart dropped in fear, and I almost felt like I was going to lose control of my bowels. This was on Halloween. I'm convinced that Robert Fripp is a warlock, and that he read my mind. He's so in tune with his powers of being Robert Fripp that if someone in the crowd, he walks off if you take a picture. If some musician is so in tune, he's so in tune that if someone is looking at him with impure motive to steal his technique, he is able to read their mind and play with them psychically, which he did, like a game of cat and mouse. He kept doing this thing, and he would like nod every time it came around. He's got his lips pursed and his glasses are on. And then he went like and like winked at me, and I heard this. He was still down here, and as soon as that was over, he went like, and then he played those notes, and I just literally I air pooped my pants. I nudged to my wife. I'm like, that guy's a witch. He's a war. I'm like, let's get out of here. I'm like, this is just not fun anymore. I'm like, that guy. I'm like, he's a witch. I'm like, that guy Robert Fripp. He just read my mind. I'm telling. My wife's like, what are you talking about? She's like digging it. It's King Crimson. This is like world class band. But that's my King Crimson story. It really happened. I really got scared from that, and it ruined the rest of the night for me. I remember when we went back to pick up my kid. We had dropped my daughter off at my kids. I'm sorry. We had dropped our daughters off at my mom's house. Oh my God! Story wrecker. Be gone. Be gone, story wrecker. It's not Halloween yet. Okay, get on your broom. Come back a couple. Anyway, that next Sunday when I saw my mom at church or whatever it was, the next time I remember my stepdad asking me about the concert because he was a musician. He played in a successful wedding band, and he was a Polish guy. Played keyboard. He gave me. Would you grab me that fuzz pedal that's over there?
Oh yeah.
So I told my mom about it, and she was like, "Of course, they're all witches." This is the Maestro FC1A that I inherited from. It's got this little pigtail for powering it up. That hole was already there. I didn't drill a hole in it. Anyway, that's my Maestro FC1. That's my King Crimson story. Do I believe that Robert Fripp is a warlock and read my mind? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna say either way. It was really weird how all of that went down. But that's my King Crimson story, and happy Halloween. I love you guys.